Now, creating this rectangle took me about 5 minutes between explanations and everything. And from this, I had to create these getters and setters. Now, there's a lot of typing in there. I'm lazy. I've frequently said how lazy I am. I don't want to have to type all of that. So let's go ahead and comment that out for a moment. Now, we still need to have this, and we still need to have some way of setting the sides and getting the sides. So C# does include what's known as automatic properties. Automatic properties allow you to do something like this. Public float side 1. And if I do this, now I have a get and a set. Now, the very first and important thing to notice is this side 1 is different than this side 1. This does have an uppercase S. This has a lowercase s. Do not make this mistake of, oh, I can write this and it will work everywhere. Now, if I do this, let me go ahead and duplicate this as well. Public float side 2, and I'm just going to do this set. So I can do it all on one line. A lot of times you may see it like this. So if I do this, I'm not going to change anything here. And I'm going to go ahead and change this. So these two lines will not work because we no longer have a method called set side 1 and set side 2. Instead, what we want to do is rect1 dot, and notice we have these two, side 1 and side 2, is equal to S1. We do the same thing for side 2 is equal to S2. And once we do this and we scroll back up, notice that this now has one usage and this has one usage. And get is highlighted, saying that it's, or actually get is not highlighted. Set is highlighted, showing that it is being used. Get is highlighted, saying it's not being used because we aren't actually getting the value from there. All we are doing is setting it. So I can go down here, and now for this, we can say side 1. And if I go over here, side 2, and get rid of the parentheses. Notice that I no longer need these parentheses. I no longer have to specify my own getters or setters. If I scroll back up, these are now showing that they are being used. In fact, there are two usages. There is the set that is getting used, and here is the get which is getting used. So now if I run this, and I go ahead and enter in my two values, I'm going to get this here. The rectangle with sides 42 and 15 has an area of 0. Why is that? Well, this is all working correctly. Our calc area is not working correctly. Calc area is still returning this dot side 1 and this dot side 2. It is specifically returning these two variables as opposed to these two variables. So what C# does is it creates two other variables, a side 1 and a side 2 there, and stores them separately from this. So there's two ways we can fix this. I'll show you the first way. So instead of putting this dot side 1, we do this dot side 1 with a capital S and a capital S there to now reference the getter from each one of these. So if I run this, enter the two sides, 42, 15, now we get a area outputted to the screen. So this is a very easy way of doing this. However, this doesn't always work. Sometimes you still need to have private variables or other code in there. So a lot of times what people will do and what I will end up doing is we can put our own code blocks in here. Now this, whenever you get it, we're just going to return this dot lowercase side 1. Notice it's a lowercase 1 up there. And I'm going to go ahead and do that here. So I'm going to put these on new lines. And this will be getting this dot side 2. All right, return. Return this.side2. Okay, so now our getter is tied to these variables. What do we need to do with set? Set is just going to say this.side1 is equal to, and notice that there is this value here. Whenever you call side 1, so down here, we are referencing side 1 and we're passing S1 into side 1, that gets known as value. And so this automatically has value that we can access. And again, we need to do the same down here. Is equal to value. So now these, even though these are capital side 1 and side 2, it is setting the side 1 and side 2 up here. Now, some code you may see variables, private member variables or fields have an underline at the beginning. Depending upon where you read and what documentation you have, they may or may not put the underline there, or they may or may not say that you need to put an underline. Sometimes they will say M underscore. That's just a typographical convention that some people use. I'm not going to worry about that. In fact, I think some Microsoft documentation says don't do that anymore when it used to say to do it. Things change. But now we no longer need to change this because this is still saying this.side1. We could say this dot lowercase side 2 or lowercase side 1 because the getter in the uppercase is going to point to the same lowercase variable. So if I leave it like that, and I tell this to run, and I type in the values, the rectangle with sides 42 and 15 has an area of 630. So notice that here, I didn't have to change anything. Up here, the get and the set, I tied it to the appropriate variable up there. You can add other code in here, similar to how I did that in the last set of videos, where if the value is in some range, do this thing, otherwise do this other thing. Generally, you don't do that as much in this style of getting and setting, but it is possible. You could write other code in here. A lot of times when I do a get and set, this is what I'll do. And again, all you need to do is just, usually it is you take the variable name there, put it down here, and then just capitalize it. So the capital letter at the beginning. And then I will usually write a get and set inside of there where it literally does the get and set. It just is a little bit cleaner and a little bit less code than what I had to write here for my separate set and get. And it's more consistent because here I could have said set side 1 and here I could have said setting side 2. This is just get and set.